The Philippines has a quite diverse culture, and that of course is reflected in its myths and folk tales. And so today, I'd like you to gather round as I tell you not one, but three myths about the sun and the moon. The first is a Visayan take on the sun and the moon. Once, the sun and the moon, married as they were, had many children as there were stars, and indeed they both loved their children very much so. The sun, however, one day was careless. Indeed, it was his love that was his children's undoing, and whenever he tried to embrace them, he was so hot that he burnt them up. This angered the moon, and she forbade him from ever touching their children ever again, and this of course grieved the sun most. However, one day when the moon had gone to the spring to do her washing, the sun broke his promise and accidentally burnt some of their children. The moon, upon returning, saw this and was quite angered, escalating into a fight. The moon picked up a banana tree and hung it at the sun, and in retaliation, he threw sand in the moon's face. It is said that we can still see the marks of the sand thrown on the moon, and ever since then, the sun has been chasing the moon. The end. This is a Mandaya take on the sun and the moon. The sun and the moon were married, but the sun was quite quarrelsome and ugly, and one day he became so angry at his wife that he began to chase her, and until she gained good distance ahead of him, she ran until she grew tired. And ever since, at times almost catching up and falling again behind, the sun chases the moon. It is also said that the first child of the sun and moon was a large star like a man, but the sun, being quarrelsome as he is, cut him into many small pieces and scattered him across the whole sky, such as how one would scatter rice, and ever since there have been stars aplenty in the sky. The second child of the sun and moon was a great gigantic crab that still lives, and every time he opens and closes his eyes, there's a flash of lightning. Indeed, most of the time, this crab lives in the large hole at the bottom of the deep sea, and when he is there, we have a high tide, but when he leaves the hole, water rushes back into the hole and the tide is low, and his movement causes the great waves across the seas. Similar to his father, he is quarrelsome and sometimes becomes so enraged with his mother the moon that he attempts to swallow her, and as such, the people of Earth, who are fond of the moon, when they see the crab, they run out and create noise, shouting and beating on gongs until he is scared away, and thus save the moon. The end. The third myth is a Tagalog myth. One day, the hanging god of wind and friend of the sun and moon was visiting Ama, god of the sun, to warn himself. He told him that he had a bad feeling about Bran, god of the moon. He had been acting weird recently, showering during the day, and that it meant that he desired to occupy a part of Aragorn's kingdom. Helgen wanted them to be good friends, and so asked Bran to not occupy a part of Aragorn's kingdom so to prevent strife. Aragorn was just, and so Bran should act the same. However, the moon paid not to his advice and shone during the day, and in the morning and in the evening. Aragorn could bear it not, and told Bran firmly to do it no longer, but Bran insisted, and they quarreled. Bran was hit badly, and parts of his body scattered. These became the stars, and the caves and bruises he sustained remain to this day. And so the moon no longer has its former light, the stars are in the sky, and the moon is bruised. The end.